A lot of people want to know why I walked on at Alabama, especially considering that I didn't play football in high school. I played baseball and basketball. I was very good in baseball, being scouted in baseball. And I wanted to play football, and my dad wouldn't let me. And I'll never forget it. I was standing in the yard. He was standing on the front porch. And I told him if he didn't let me play in high school, I'd play in college. And he laughed at me. I think part of that was because no one in our family had ever gone to college. And the other part, I think, was I weighed 125 pounds. So he didn't think much of me saying that. But I obviously filled out, got bigger, and transferred to Alabama from a 2-year college. Walked on as a wide receiver, and they moved me to running back. And we were playing Georgia Tech in a junior varsity game, and they wanted me to play. And we had probably 30 walk-ons, and so they hadn't even bothered to see if we were eligible. They were scrambling to see if I was eligible. But before I could dress out, I had to have a private interview with Coach Bryant. And I'll never forget it. He was on the telephone when I got to his office, so I sat out by his secretary's desk, and he was on the phone with Coach Darrell Royal from Texas, and I could hear him talking to him, and it made the intimidation factor even greater. But he called me and he said, "Gary, come on in here," and I went in and sat down on that sofa, and it was this big leather sofa, sat flat on the floor. We think that he probably had the legs cut off of it to increase the intimidation factor, but I felt like about a 4-year-old. But he told me I'd worked hard and that I'd done a good job, and he said, "I'm not going to guarantee you get in the game," he said, "but I'm going to dress you." And he got up and shook my hand and put his hand on my shoulder and walked me out of his office out in the hall. And I wouldn't trade anything for that. And so I dressed for Georgia Tech and got in the game, and that was the first football game I ever played in. I'll never forget the first day in pads. Coach Al Kincaid was on the staff, and we were all in the dressing room, the freshman and walk-on dressing room, going through the playbook, and he closed the playbook and he looked at us and he said, "Well, this is where we separate the men from the boys and the boys from the babies." And he had this maniacal grin on his face, and it was, honestly, it was a lot of fun. The reason I did it was I thought, I don't want to wake up one day and be 50 years old and regret not trying. And that's just kind of how I've lived my life, is that I think you have to try. And I am so glad that I did.